Hi, my name is Krsul. For my performance task 2, I asked the question, why is the connection between racial minorities and impoverished people so noticeable in the United States of America? Now, before I dive into my question, I'd like to define a few words in my question. For example, minorities. For my definition of minorities, I'm referring to racial minorities in the United States. Racial minorities in the United States are considered to be African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, Pacific Islanders, Native Americans, and Alaskan Natives. Now, I'd also like to define what impoverished means in America. For a 4-person family to be impoverished, they need to make under an annual income of $24,250. Now, I would also like to consider who cares about this issue. Now, I would consider racial minorities to be the target audience. Now, there is a higher chance of racial minorities from birth to live in poverty. This is a battle that they will fight their whole lives, of it just being more likely for them to be impoverished. To be informed about what may be causing them to have a more likely chance to be impoverished will make the battle so much easier to fight. Now, to connect to my stimulus packet, I used the article by Alan Jenkins, or Inequality, Race, and Remedy. It would be hopeful to believe that race is no longer a factor in poverty, and that we can be a colorblind society. But America still has a legacy to overcome and to achieve. Now, this article really discusses how poverty and race are completely intertwined and have been like that for a long time. Now, it also talks about how people need to be aware of how racism is still a big issue in today's society, and I would completely agree. Now, looking through a political lens at my question, I looked a lot at about racial harassment. Racial harassment can actually be prosecuted by a court of law in the United States of America. Now, looking at one particular racial harassment case, in 2008, 15 racial minorities filed a racial harassment suit against their racial majority co-workers. Their racial majority co-workers had been harassing them by posting hit lists, threatening them with swastikas, and even going as far as hanging nooses in the bathroom. Now, the judge ended up prosecuting, and the case settled for $1.9 million in favor of the racial minorities. Though the racial minorities won this case, nobody looked on the mental effects it had on these racial minorities. In 2008, a study was done that showed a direct correlation between racial harassment and mental health issues. With the cause of mental health issues comes a whole other slew of issues that can cause an issue with gaining employment, staying employed, and functioning in modern day society in America. Now, looking through a social and cultural lens at my question, I found a lot of different cultural things that can cause a more likely chance to be impoverished. For example, family size. In the average white family in America, there are 2.88 members, whereas in an African American family, there are 3.03 members, and in an average Hispanic family, there are 3.52 members. Now, with this difference, though it may seem small, that extra mouth to feed can really cause a strain on your resources and your income. Now, another part is who is working within your family. Now, Hispanic men have 74% of Hispanic men are employed in the United States. Only 52% of Hispanic women are employed. Now, when you don't have 2 members of your household working and bringing in an income, it can cause issues. With 2 households, just like 2 brains are better than 1, 2 incomes are definitely better than 1. If something were to happen, like one of them were to be laid off, to have another income to be able to depend on and live could be the only thing in the way of becoming homeless and forever impoverished. Now, looking through a philosophical lens at my question, I looked a lot into mentality and mindset, particularly the growth and fixed mindsets. Now, we have actually talked about this in an AP seminar too, about having a true growth mindset. Now, a fixed mindset is, I'm either good at it or not. When I'm frustrated, I give up. And when I fail, I'm no good. Whereas a growth mindset is I can learn anything I want. When I'm frustrated, I persevere. When I fail, I learn. And tell me, I try hard, not like the fixed mindset, which is tell me I'm smart. Now, a study was done on this tell me I try hard and tell me I have high expectations for you in 2015. 44 7th grade social studies students were given an essay to write. Now, when the teacher got the essay back to edit, on 22 of the students, she gave a note that said, I am giving you feedback because I have high expectations. The other 22 were given a note that said, I am giving you feedback. The students who were told that they had high expectations did much better than the students that were told they had feedback. And the students who were told that they had high expectations were pretty even with the scores with racial minorities and racial majorities. Now, on the flip side, with the feedback form, when the kids got back their paper and it said only feedback, the racial minorities were seen to succeed much less than the racial majority, and the gap was much bigger between their success in the two groups of kids. Now, this shows that maybe minorities don't have a growth mindset ingrained, and maybe whites or the racial majority of our country have a more ingrained growth mindset. Now, this is obviously not true for all people, as none of these facts are, but it is a proposition to look on. Now, in conclusion, what I found mostly about America is we have a pretty fixed social structure. We've had this social structure of minorities being down here forever, since whites have been on this land. Native Americans were pushed to the bottom immediately. And with slavery, they are and unfortunately, we have not done a good job of changing that structure to fit modern day America. Now, how can we fix this? Awareness is the number one thing. For people to be aware of these racial issues is the number one thing that can help them care, and caring will lead to wanting to change and helping to change. Now, what are going to be some roadblocks? This is, racially, this social structure is ingrained in us. This has been with us forever, so it's not going to be able to be fixed with a snap of your fingers. But we can change it, and I believe we can in today's society. With the growth we have had and the acceptance of all races and culture, I believe we can. But now we have to execute and not just say we're accepting. And then bibliography. Yeah. Thank you.